Hey guys, hello Unicef leaders. I hope everyone is getting settled in and we will now start the new club orientation part 2. My name is Nadine Abukalis and I am a high school national council member, and I have began my term with the National Council along with Monica in August, and we are on the club and member recruitment team. So now I shall pass it off to Monica to introduce her wonderful self.
Hey everyone, like Nadine said, my name is Monica and I am on the campus council. So I have been involved with Unicef for about 2 years at this point, and I'm very excited to see you all here tonight, or I guess virtually hang out with you, whatever you want to say. So now I'm going to pass it over to Nadine, and she's going to walk you through some of the WebEx rules for tonight so you know a little bit about the etiquette that we're going to be stressing.
Okay, so this can get confusing sometimes, but we can clarify for you guys. You guys will be always on mute that way, just because we don't want any feedback that will interrupt the conference, and we'll not have people hear what we're saying clearly. So that's why you guys are on mute. Do not put yourself, if you're calling through a phone, don't put yourself on hold at any time throughout the call. Please send in your questions in a written form through the WebEx chat or vocally when you are prompted by selecting the raise your hand on the WebEx, which is this virtual hand that you'll be able to press on when we say if you guys have any questions, or if you guys do not want to participate vocally, you can just go into the group chat. You can see it, and I will call out on you guys. If you're using webcam, please be dressed appropriately. I fully dressed, hopefully, and in the most professional way we can. I mean, it's fine. And always act in a professional and presentable manner, just like that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nadine. So I'm going to walk us through the agenda for tonight, and I wanted to stress a few things. First of which is that we are going to have 6 topics that we're going to run through together tonight, and Nadine talked about the fact that you have a feature where you can raise your hand and ask a question. So how we'll do this is that we'll each tackle one of these bullet points that you see on the screen, and after every single little section that we talk about, we'll open up the opportunity for you to ask questions. So you can do that either by unmuting yourself, like Nadine said, or you can type into the chat box that Nadine is monitoring, and so she'll share your questions with everybody. So please, if you have questions, make sure that you utilize that opportunity. So we're going to get started. So tonight's agenda, I'm going to start us off with talking about building and maintaining membership. Next, we're going to go over to accessing Unicef club resources, being introspective and what that means with your clubs, working with your school administration and overcoming challenges that you might have, setting smart financial goals, and last of all, using Slack, which is a tool that we will get into later, to communicate. So let's get started. All right, so first of all, building and maintaining membership. So we added this slide because when we did our new club survey, we found that a lot of you struggle with this, and I think that that's totally fair because Nadine and I have struggled with this with our clubs throughout the past couple of years. And I think that it's one of the challenges that we have as club leaders, because there's so many clubs that people have to choose from, and people, high school or college are just so busy all the time that they use their time really meaningfully, and they want to be parts of things that are fun and part of things that are special and important to them. So it's important that we create spaces and we create meetings and clubs where that happens. So some tips that I have for you for building and maintaining membership are, first of all, to use opportunities. So your schools, I'm sure, have club fairs and other large school events where you have the opportunity to interact with a ton of students who are eager to get involved and eager to kind of start something new. So that's a great place to start. So some ideas that you might want to take care of, for example, would be to have sign-up sheets with you at a football game, to have a really cool, huge poster with you at the club fair, stuff like that, where people kind of start seeing the Unicef logo and they're like, okay, this sounds kind of cool. I want to join. So the next 2 points go along with that, right? So giving good vibes and shaking things up. So you want to present yourself in a really positive and fun and engaging way. And that really goes along with shaking things up, because if you have meetings that are the same every single week, people might get bored. And so you want to be able to create an engaging conversation with your members. You want to be able to split people up into groups, have fun activities, be really interactive in a way that's going to make them feel super excited to be a part of what you're doing. So that's going off that topic, that's something else that I wanted to touch on. And last of all, empowering your members. So along with creating great conversation, you have to make your members feel like they are a part of your club, and you do that by allowing them to be a part of the decision making that happens in the club. I often hear this, that like people really feel accountable to goals if they were part of the decision making process. So I think that's where you as club leaders can really come in. And let's say you have some cool event that you have in the works and you're not sure, if you want to do it or not, kind of sharing that with the rest of the club and getting their input and allowing them to be a part of that process is going to be super helpful. So those are some tips that I have for you. And now we're going to open it up for questions on this specific topic. So you can either type those into the chat box or raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself and ask them directly. So I'll give you a few minutes for that.
All right, then we're going to go ahead and move on to the next slide if there's not any questions. But if you guys do think of any, please feel free to go ahead and go into the chat and write it down, and we'll come back to them later on at the end. So like Monica was saying, we went through the struggles of not being able to keep members in. And it took, personally for me, and I'm sure this for Monica as well, that we had to go find our certain resources for us to, succeed in making our meetings more entertaining and just something that will make sure that the club members will come back for the next meeting. So my favorite, personally, favorite resources would be the Unicef USA website, the Unicef Club's YouTube page, the social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because these all have just this creativity to each one of them, that it not only doesn't leave me bored, but also I'm always have something. I know that I'm not going to be bored when I'm teaching the club, or not. I'd rather not say teaching, but help advocating the message about children. So for the Unicef USA website, we realized that a lot of you guys in the survey that you had struggles finding the resources. So we have set up this mini tutorial for you guys to see how you guys can get to it. Monica, do you want to go to the next slide and show them?
Yes.
So this is the Unicef USA website, the front page once you go to the unicefusa.com or .com or .org. Whoops. Let me see. It is .org. And once you go there, you will see our mission, our supporters, and about us. If you press on the Our Supporters, you will get a little drop box that will be blue. There you go. And you'll have your campus and your high school clubs. It might not be so clear, but it's in between there. You'll see under volunteers, it says high school clubs and campus. And then from there, if you press on either one, here is the high school club version of it. You will see right underneath, it will say high school club resources. So once you press on it, this is how it looks like from the start, but when you scroll down, you get your wonderful tips and tricks, your program areas, and it will help clear any confusion you've had in anything. So your different program areas will be well explained in each of those resources that's listed underneath that section. And then the Helpful Club Tips and Tricks provides different ways that you can keep your members engaged, whether it's holding discussion panels, whether it's making different fundraisers, or going just to doing club events in general, like whether it's like having a presentation at your school or, you know, anything that might be confusing or confusing for some of you guys will be most likely clarified through one of these resources. So yeah, so that's for the UNICEF USA website. As for the UNICEF YouTube page, we have been more active this year. So for each month, we will have been releasing a video that corresponds with the theme of the month. So if you guys go present this video to your club during that month, either it's the beginning and it really doesn't matter. It's just entertaining to see how the National Council members, which are like either our ages, the high school or campus, are working together for the same purpose. It's just kind of, in my opinion, very neat. And then you have your social media pages. So let's say you guys didn't meet up for a week. That's fine. You guys can stay interconnected, whether you have your own social media pages for your like personal school club, or you can have it just as a whole, like as a nation. You can see how other schools are working hard to get fundraisers or advocating for the same purpose. So here are the handles for the Instagram one. There's different ones for the high school and campus, depending on which one you guys are in. Then the Twitter one, we have combined our high school and UNICEF and the campus one into an overall UNICEF Clubs one. And please check it out. It's inspiring. Please follow it. We will give you time to follow it. We will let you guys. And we have your Facebook pages, which are the UNICEF High School Club and the UNICEF Campus Initiative. So if you guys have any questions regarding that, we can do it. So we have a question here, and which is says, here. Oh, where'd it go? Okay. What are some of the best ways to educate the members about the UNICEF and the first club meeting? Okay, that's a great question, because your interest meeting is usually kind of this crucial, like, we need to have these kids stay with us, right? So I think what you could do is this UNICEF 101 brief speaking about, like, what is UNICEF, why was UNICEF established, and how you guys will make an influence to it. You don't have to give them the heavy burden of the duties of this club. Rather, just give them this brief overview, like you guys might have to come every other week, depending on how you guys structure it. You guys can give them the logistics, but don't give them the whole, you guys have to advocate, you have to talk to the congressman. Don't scare them off. I would say show them the bright sides of, like, and the fun parts of the club. But when it comes just about UNICEF, just gives them the history of it and what we can do to help them. Monica, do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, actually, I realized that I forgot to mention something in my previous slide, and I think that this goes along very well with what you're talking about in terms of getting people to be excited about UNICEF and talking to people about the club and your club and what that means. And what I'm trying to explain is the idea of giving your UNICEF story and your UNICEF pitch. And so essentially what that means is that it's a way for you to communicate kind of like your passion for UNICEF, what it is that your club does, like your position, your role, your leadership, the things that you've done as a club in like a very short period of time. So it's something that you share with people, like whether it's like at a club event, whether it's on social media, whether it's like you meet a student and you kind of want to give them your little spiel. So like that's kind of how I think of it. I think of it as like my little UNICEF spiel. And to give you an idea of what that looks like, it would be, for example, if someone came up to me and I and was like, oh, like why should I join UNICEF? And I said, well, you know what, I've been doing UNICEF for the past 2 years and it's been amazing. I started as a sophomore and I founded my own club, and since then we've been doing events on education, on migration, on all kinds of things. We've fundraised, we've done advocacy, and we have come together as a community, and we really have grown so much as a club in that time. So that's kind of an illy prepared example, but it shows you the importance of being able to really convince someone in a very short period of time. And it's something that you can use on social media. Like you can totally modify that on a Facebook page, on an Instagram post, even on a YouTube video. So that is that's a little extra some resource that you might want to use in your club.
That's awesome, Monica. That's a good point.
All right. So we don't have any more questions, right, Nadine?
No, for now we do not.
Awesome. So I'm going to get us to the next topic, which is being introspective. So this is huge, and it's huge because your new clubs, most of your new clubs, and so that means that you're starting off and everything's kind of trial and error. You have to figure out how do you develop as a club and how do you really make an impact and succeed. And you can do that in a variety of ways, but I found that the SWOT method is a really great way to do that because it allows you to be introspective. And being introspective means a lot of things, but for me in my club and in my experience, it's really meant looking at what we've done and after the fact, taking a step back and thinking about what worked, what didn't work, what could we have done better, how people liked it, and things like that. So that's where the SWOT method comes in. So if you look at the right side of your screen, you should be able to see a little graphic. I don't know if this little thing is covering it, but it's basically strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So these are 4 criteria that will help you see whether an event was successful or not. And even, if you think that an event wasn't successful, there might be certain ways in which it was. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're doing a bake sale and you are trying to fundraise for an event that you're having, and your goal is like $200, and you're hoping to meet a lot of people, and you're hoping to have a really great time, and it turns out that you only fundraise 100, right, out of your goal. So if you do a SWOT and you look back at the event as a whole, your weakness might have been that you didn't reach $200, right? But then you start to think about it and you realize, okay, there were also a lot of strengths too, because we met a lot of people, we spread the word about Unicef, it was a great opportunity for our club members to bond while they were selling things, and in general, we just made our presence known. And so I think that goes to show that while we can often get a little bit carried away with like the idea of fundraising, education and advocacy can be just as important and just as meaningful. So don't be discouraged if you don't necessarily reach your fundraising goal. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but I just wanted to make a point of that now. So then going back to the bake sale, right? So you have your strengths, you have your weaknesses, and then your opportunities. So let's say, okay, it was pretty successful, but maybe you could have done it at 2:30 p.m. when school ends, and you would have gotten a huge rush of people coming out and buying your bake sale goods instead of doing it like at 1. Maybe you could have partnered with another club. Maybe you could have done it in a different area of campus where there's more people. So that gives you a good idea, I think, of how opportunities comes into play. And then threats, it's just as important because it makes you think about what are potential threats in the future. So maybe you want to plan a bake sale for next week, but like imagine there's 4 other clubs that are planning a bake sale that same day. So clearly that's a threat because it's just going to be too many baked. I mean, arguably you can never have too many baked goods, but like that would be too many baked goods, and people wouldn't be able to buy them all. Another threat might be that maybe schools close one day, or maybe schools lets out early. So just different things like that can affect the way that your event runs. So yeah, that is a little SWOT analysis that I just ran through with you, and you can find this online. You can there's forums where you can fill it out and do it on your own, but I wanted to give you a real life example. So I'm going to give you a minute or so, and you can see if you have any questions, think of anything that comes to mind, and we will get going with our next section. So please type those into the chat box or just unmute yourself.
So it seems as though there are no questions for now, so we will be moving on to the next slide. So, Monica made some really, really good points about the being introspective, because what I'm going to talk about is really needed when you are overcoming challenges when you're with your administration, whether that be with high school administration or campus. And I'm pretty sure the high school campus would be, high school administration would be a bit more strict when it comes to like regulations with money and raising money and stuff and so on and so forth. So I want to put it out there from now that you do not have to only raise money when you're speaking about UNICEF. There's different forms for you to spread awareness about UNICEF and its message, whether it be holding a presentation at your school, finding community leaders and bringing them over and let them speak about their perspective on how you can help children. They don't necessarily have to work with UNICEF, just how they think it's the best way to provide help for them. You can have just like this table where you can sit down and give out pamphlets or just have this discussion or whatever. Like, there's different ways you can advocate, and also you can just write to your congressman, or you can even, when you go to the summit, that if you guys can go, you can speak to them and say how you guys, like, from your perspective, if you guys couldn't raise money, you still thought it was very important for you to come on the trip and speak about the importance of children's rights. So with that warning and disclaimer done, I will go on and tell you guys how you will deal with your maybe weaknesses. So patience is key when you're dealing with your administration. Many administrators may be already, or most likely they'll be already busy with their own work, whether it be there's issues at the school or it's just they have their own personal lives and they just don't want to add to the list something else they have to do or something else they have to take care of. They may brush you off, which to you, what you should respond to that is that you shouldn't get frustrated, or you shouldn't act immaturely by getting angry or anything like that. Stay calm and collected, stay persistent, but also in the most polite way, which is the way to act, which goes to the next point, which is acting professional. You have to think of their perspective on why they may reject the idea of a certain fundraiser you're raising or a certain presentation they don't want you to speak about. You have to understand that they probably have their own rules and regulations from the county or from the state that they said you guys can't discuss such things. It may be they just don't want to talk about it at school. Personally at my school, they do not like to talk. They think human trafficking might be a sensitive topic when it doesn't necessarily have to go to only sex trafficking, but it's also labor. So I would convince my principal to look at it from the labor perspective. So you guys have to find a way to attract them and show them that there's not always one answer to this, how to say this, your request. There you go. It doesn't have to be an automatic no. You can tell them, that's fine, I'll bend my request in your favor if you would let me do this and this. This not only will make you look professional and your principal or your administration faculty will look at you with more respect, but they'll also speak with you or speak about you and events that you wouldn't expect it. So I didn't know that my principal was speaking about Unicef Club with such, pride, and I just personally didn't know they even knew it existed. So the fact that I stayed professional because I stayed patient with them, gave me good feedback. It helped me. It didn't backfire at me. So also, don't give up. Find alternative methods. I mean, like I said, if you can't fundraise because your school doesn't want to deal with the money, then just don't fundraise. That's totally fine. You can, like I said, just advocate in different forms, whether it's congressman, holding presentation, working with other clubs, going to their meetings to see how you guys can hold a certain event. I mean, in next month we're going to have the water walk, so you guys can maybe collaborate with other clubs and try to host the water walk. It doesn't require any, you don't have to raise any money for this event. You can just be raising awareness about the importance of conserving water. So that's something to look into as well, and also learn from other clubs at your school. So we're all here new clubs, like we've been established maybe 1 or 2 years. So you are just this newbie who doesn't know anything, which is totally fine. So the best way to know about stuff is to ask. You know, like I said before, stay patient, stay professional. Some people may not want to share their tips and secrets because they think it might be a competitive thing, which is fine. You know, if you feel like they do not want to share with you, then that's fine. You can just cut it there and see if you can go somewhere else, or you can you know, thank them for their time and go somewhere else. There's never, like, you shouldn't just give up right then and there, because I'm sure there'll be at least one person who can help you, one administrator, maybe one teacher. And make sure to speak about your club with, like, as many teachers as you can, as many teachers you think they'll be interested, because I certainly found a lot of supportive teachers, and I didn't even know about it. I just spoke about it once in front of them, and they also want to help as much as they can. So, you know, try to put the club out there, and that will help you, you know, because maybe their word will help you work with the administration because it is a teacher or a faculty or whomever. So those would be my top tips on how to deal with those challenges. Do you guys have any challenges that you are currently facing and need advice for? If you guys do, go ahead and type it, and I would love to answer, and me and Monica would love to give you our advice on that. Okay, we have one. All right. Let's see here. So, this keeps happening. Could you give us more information about the water walk? Okay, so Monica, do you want to discuss the water walk now, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you just, whoever asked the question, can you clarify? Do you just mean water walks in general, and like what that consists of? And we can explain that a little bit. I think that's what you're talking about, but I just want to clarify that.
But like, there is the whole guide as well, like I was speaking about before, on the website. So just putting it out there. So if you go, you'll find it there. But yeah, there's some interesting things.
All right, so then we can, Dean, if you want, I can talk a little bit about just what a water walk is in general.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually, you know, I haven't done one, but I'm planning one for this spring, so I'm really excited, and I'm probably in the same boat as you are. I'm not really sure, like, exactly how to run one yet because I haven't done it, but I will say that from my research and from what I've seen and from what my students, my club members have said, they seem really excited and they're really hyping it up. So it's my understanding that a water walk is essentially an event that you do someplace like on campus, or I guess you could do it off campus too, or off your high school, where you will walk a certain distance. And I've seen it done in several ways. One is like, one way that I've seen it done is like you carry like something that weighs a certain weight, and so that represents like what a person in another country like might have to be carrying as they walk to like a well to get water, for example. So it's essentially like you're sort of like role playing and like stepping into somebody else's shoes, and you are like walking in order to represent like what that's like and what the process is like of having to displace yourself every single day to get water. And so I think that it's a really impactful event. I do believe that we will be having more water walk resources and potentially some goods coming your way, although that's not confirmed yet. But stay tuned, and if you are particularly really interested in doing a water walk, just send us your email over chat, and we can follow up with you directly and send you some more details. We can confirm it. Yeah. Confirmed. We will be sending you guys some cool water walk kits, so that's going to make your life a lot easier, and you'll have all the supplies that you need in order to run it and all the information. So all of that will be there, and I'm sure that Unicef has a specific way of doing it that will be clarified for you. So I hope you do one. I'm doing one. Good luck.
Yeah, just like Monica said, I also have not been able to like conduct one myself at my school, but I plan to do it this March as well. And just like Monica summed it up in the best way, it's just for us to understand how like the struggle the children have to go through, the way the gender roles that comes into this. Girls can't get their education because they're focused on just getting water for their families, so they just can't go to school. So we want to take into consideration all the aspects that come with just getting water and how difficult it is for them to get their sanitation because of like the lack of access to water, and how we can help with them. So yeah, yeah, okay, cool. So moving on.
All right, awesome. So we are going to move on to the next slide, which is setting SMART goals, fundraising. So I alluded to this a little bit earlier when I was talking about just in general SWOT, and this is something that I find that is very important. Disclaimer, like I mentioned earlier, fundraising is important clearly because it funds a lot of programs that Unicef does on the ground, and so that's huge, but also advocacy and education are so important too. And I think that as students, we're uniquely positioned to be able to really elevate our voices, and with social media and everything like that, that's something that we should always be focusing on. But anyways, money. So something that has to do with fundraising is being able to set goals. And when talking about goals, I like to really think about SMART goals. So this is another system that I use in my club, and essentially it makes you really reflect before you do an event and also after, and it makes you think about what kind of event you want to do, and just in general, like, is it measurable? Like, your success, is it measurable? Can you achieve it? Is it realistic? And it makes you ask yourself all these questions that are really important in order to be able to set these kinds of goals. So for fundraising specifically, I'm going to give you another example. Last year, we did a Trick or Treat for Unicef fundraiser here at Fordham. And before we did the event, we went through this SMART goals process, and we had to ask ourselves numerous questions about our fundraising goal. And it's important to ask yourself these questions because, like Nadine said, like sometimes you can get discouraged if you don't necessarily reach your goals, and like this is a way for you to be accountable and for you to really track them. So when you first set a goal, a financial goal specifically, you want to think, is this specific enough? So saying, I want to fundraise a lot of money this year for Trick or Treat, it's going to be great. Yeah, I mean, that's great, but also you need to be able to set a specific goal. So, for example, I want to fundraise with my club $1,500 by November 2nd. That's a specific goal. You have an end date, you have a specific financial amount, and that is going to help you moving on to the next category, which is measurable. So if you have a specific goal, you can measure it because you know, come November 2nd, did I reach the money that I wanted to reach? Did I, achieve the specific set of criteria that I created when I was doing my specific criteria, whatever thing. So that's really important to note too. So it's measurable, right? Because you can measure it. Achievable. So this goes along with setting a specific goal. You have to think, like, is it realistic that I will be able to fundraise $1,500? So like it says here, right? Is it in your power to accomplish it? Well, you have to take into consideration, are you part of a large school? Are you part of a small school? Are people in your school historically inclined to donate or not to donate? Does your club have creative and innovative ways to achieve this? Do your club members have strong networks that they're willing to kind of put forward, and family members that they're willing to contact? Those are all things that will help you realize whether or not your goal is achievable. So realistic, it's really similar to achievable, and it just means, like, can you realistically achieve this goal? So if you do have, the power to accomplish the goal, then you can. So if you have enough club members supporting you, if you have enough resources at your disposal, then you can make it happen, and then it's a realistic goal. And last of all, we have timely. So this goes back to setting a specific goal, because this essentially means, can I accomplish my goal in time, right? So you only know that if before the fact you set a date or you set a deadline. And so it's kind of like, it seems like a really complex and intricate process, but everything's kind of really related. And it's about asking yourself the right questions before you do an event or before you do a fundraiser, and being able to hold yourself accountable. And like I said earlier, club members want to feel involved in decision-making processes, but also want to feel involved in setting goals together, because setting goals is really exciting and people want to be a part of that. So doing something like this in your club meeting and kind of going through this with all of your club members before a big fundraiser and seeing and having them give their opinions and kind of, maybe someone wants to do a fundraiser with a larger end date because they think that there's the potential there to fundraise some more. Maybe some people don't think that, what you and your club leaders had in mind is realistic. So it's really important to get that feedback, and I think that this is a great model to do that. So that was a lot of information, but I hope that made some sense, and this is also something that you can access online. So I will open it up again for questions. And it's okay because we're kind of just going through these sections and asking you to come up with questions really fast. So if you don't immediately have a question, we'll save some room at the end. So I'm going to give you a minute now, and then we'll get going if no one has any questions.
And like if there's anything, it doesn't necessarily have to be a question about like the program. If you want any clarification of anything we said, just like the water walk, you can go ahead and ask us. Okay, so we have gotten a question. What are some of the fundraising ideas for Water Walk Month? Okay. So I have the I feel like each month you can basically use the same type of structure for fundraiser and just like design it for that theme. And what I mean is like this is if all fails, I always have this backup plan, is that you would set up a table at a cafeteria. This is if your school allows it. You ask your principal, get permission from them. This is for high school, of course. You would set up a table, have a bucket of candy, and the way you can basically lure, donations in is by saying, hey, if you donate 25 cents, you will get a piece of candy. Simple as that. And you would be surprised by the amount of money you're able to fundraise. I mean, I fundraised by doing that method alone around over $300. And for something so simple like that, I think it's a very efficient way. And what you could do in order to speak about the Water Walk Month, or it's not like Water Walk Month. It's Water Month in general. It's water and sanitation and hygiene. So that's basically the theme of it. But what you can do is that you can print out little pamphlets and you would give it out as you are giving out that piece of candy. Like you can maybe tape it to it, or you can, you can try, you just give it to them or give them this like little mini quick presentation about why it's important. Or you can even like say some like fun facts, like, children, like girls can't go to school because they have to be getting water for their family. So, just kind of like make them think about it. Something else that I've heard before is that you can have this basically awareness event. So you're not, you could be fundraising, or it could just simply be awareness for those who can't fundraise money, is that you would have like a small bottle of water, the ones that are this big, and one that's dirty and one that's clean. And you can just basically tell them like how this is like, this obviously seems more appealing to drink, right? Well, it doesn't really matter. The other one is the one that people usually do, and kind of just like this eye opener that at this point, whatever can keep them hydrated, they will drink it, and it's just something that we should not make it acceptable at all. So if there's obviously even more ideas on that, but Monica, do you have anything to share about that? Have you ever done anything?
So I think Nadine was bringing up some really great ideas, and at the end of the day, it's all about thinking about what works for your school, particularly because every school is different, but also just being really creative and having fun with it, which I know is like a very generic answer, but it's totally true. And the fact that March is World Water Month is great, but don't feel like you're constrained to that. Like, don't feel like every single event has to be like a water walk or something like that. Like, there's many creative ways that you can still tie in like the idea of like water and things like that. And like Nadine said earlier, like the idea of like gender specifically is like very like tied into that. And so you can find ways to branch out and to not feel constrained just to like the idea of water and like how that manifests itself. So it's totally about being creative. And also we constantly update our social media with like different shout outs to clubs. So like that's always a great place to check and to see what other people are doing.
Definitely. And we have on the chat, we've put in the resource page I was talking about earlier. And we have another question. And it says, are there any UNICEF-specific program areas, such as child protection, health, WASH, that our fundraising events should be directed towards, or are we allowed to think of our own fundraising events? So, definitely. I mean, if you think there's this issue that you want to raise, that, like, there's that recently we have the Florida shooting, you can speak about how the protection of children, like how they deserve the right to not be scared when they go to school. But there's not necessarily a whole, I mean, you could put that under child protection. You can put anything under a program area, but if you just don't want to be constrained to it, definitely you can, you know, raise awareness through the club. You can use your club as like a speaker or like this mouthpiece to speak about the issue. Monica, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that sometimes it might seem like UNICEF focuses on really broad areas, but that's always something that you can use to your advantage, because whatever issue that you're interested in is probably something that's covered under one of those kind of broad umbrella areas. I mean, if you have like a really serious doubt and you're not sure if something might be problematic or not, you can always email the UNICEF volunteer account. That's a great way to do that. And we'll put that email address in the little chat box so you have it. But yeah, that's all I have to add.
All right, thank you. So if you guys have any more questions, please do send them in. And as you see, we will, doesn't necessarily have to go towards what we're talking about. Like if there's something you're just dead curious about, then go ahead and we will answer you. And we have put into the chat box the email for it. Okay, so now moving on to our really exciting new program. Okay, guys, so just like we spoke about other social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, we have started our new program called Slack. And what Slack is, what is it? Gosh, English. What is Slack? Slack is an app or a website. So like if you want to use it on your phone, you can, it's compatible, and you can also use it through your computer or whatever, that a lot of companies use as messaging tools for internal communications amongst different teams. So Slack has grown to become used on a more personal level than just like, you know, companies and just structured, and has more capabilities than platforms like iMessage, Groupie, WhatsApp, and allows for people to communicate using a username and not an email address or phone number, so this can basically keep your private information secured. So why should you guys care? Okay, so the UNICEF Clubs program is launching this new workspace for all the club leaders like you guys to join in order to connect with each other from all across the nation. So this is a perfect opportunity for you guys, for the clubs to share ideas, discuss difficulties that they're having, meet new people, and connect with the National Council and the Youth Engagement Team. So just like how we're having this conversation now and we're using the chat, instead of having to go on a call, you guys can just send in your messages. And it doesn't necessarily mean Monica and I have to answer. We can have anyone, like anyone who works with UNICEF or is part of the UNICEF Club program can answer your question. And I think that's great because just like I asked Monica what's her perspective on it and how she asked me about mine, everyone has their own different experience, so each one of us can contribute some awesome ideas that we would have not thought about due to our different experiences. And this is a brand new program that we're asking you, our new clubs, to help us pilot. So you guys, you know, this is a super exciting time, and we're so happy to have you involved. That means we need you guys to help us and join, because we cannot, like, you guys are, your feedback is the only thing that we're going to help us launch this properly, so depending on you. Anyways, so how we're using it is that you can access the Slack by clicking on the link that we're going to send you in the chat box now, and I shall do after my spiel is over. And we're going to walk through with you the process of joining our Slack workspace. On our Slack clubs page, there are different channels that you can that you have the capability of joining in. And so the channel that you all will be most interested in is our new clubs channel. So once in that channel, you can ask your questions, or if you can, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like questions. Like we said, you can just share your ideas, images. Like here's club images that we've done. It's always fun to see what other clubs can do, and maybe you'll be on a shout out on our next Instagram post. So yes, definitely, you know, be active on this. And once you're on the workspace, you can click on the plus sign on the left-hand side by where it says channels, and then you can join it. So let me go ahead and put it if it has not already been put. Oh God. Technology. There it is. Okay. So we will be giving you guys 2 minutes to join, and want to see how many people can join as fast as they can. And it's a really fun program. I mean, guys, like this is, I mean, how awesome is it that you're talking, let's say you're from California, you're talking to someone from Texas, and you guys are sharing ideas. Like, guys, think about it. It's really cool. And it's also, if you're afraid about like your information being leaked or anything, it's not. This is private. You don't need to share any private information. So you're good. So please go ahead and join now. Go, 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 go. We're depending on you, the children. Please. Okay.
I know Nadine sounds like overly excited about this, but this is just overly exciting, and we are very excited that you are the first group of people who, you know that we're doing this and get to be a part of this. And honestly, I really believe that this is going to be huge for the club's program. So we're pumped that you are the first group that gets to check this out. So we can't wait to hang out with you guys some more.
Yes, you guys are like, you know, when we talk about it later on in the years, we're going to be like, these are the people who have built this program for us. So we have more instructions in the chat box if you guys are confused or lost. If you guys have any questions about like joining Slack or anything else, go ahead and send it into the chat box and we will help you as much as we can. Okay. Okay, so for those who have already joined the Slack as I was waiting, please virtually raise your hand. Or if you can't do that or don't know how to do that, then you can just, like, you know, say me on the chat box. I'm depending on you, please. Monica, do you see any hands being virtually raised?
I can't move my screen away from the presentation, but I will check later, so I will know.
Okay, because like I'm not technology savvy either, so I don't know how to look at them, but I know it exists. Okay, guys, you know, if you want to put me in the chat box, I think that will help me better. Okay. So we will okay. If you guys have any more questions, please go ahead and ask, or if you guys have any ideas you would like to share, go ahead and please do so. We have around 7 minutes left, so yeah, please let's hear your awesome voices, our leaders. It does not necessarily have to concern anything that we've talked about today at all. Anything you faced, any confusion, if you want to know more about the water kits, anything.
So we'll add too that if you don't have any questions, you are free to go, but Nadine and I are going to hang out here for the next few minutes in case some of you do. So thank you so much for joining. We hope that this was helpful. We hope that you learned something. And if not, just it was nice. It was really nice to have the chance to speak to you and hear some of your questions. And you can totally email your questions to the volunteer at UnicefUSA.org account. That's always a great resource. And yeah, we are very excited to meet some of you if you are going to the summit in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That's going to be really fun.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so if you have any questions about the Slack line, send us an email at volunteer@unicefusa.org, and we'll be have you helped, just like we said on the chat box. Yeah, so just like I said, if you guys need to leave, that's totally okay. But if you guys want to ask questions, please do not feel shy, and go ahead and ask.
So I just saw a question pop up right there that was asking if you can be provided with a UNICEF tablecloth for tabling. As far as I know, the UNICEF resources that your club gets are the ones that are included in the back-to-school kits. I will say, though, you get a flag with the kit, and my team and my group, we use that as a tablecloth sometimes because it's like big enough that you can like lay it over a table and it looks cool. So, I don't have like an exact answer to that question. I think that what I just said is kind of the way that it is. But if I find out otherwise, I will definitely let you know if you put your contact information down. But yeah, that's all I have. And just a reminder, thank you again to everybody for attending. And we're going to close it off here. Hang out for a couple more minutes if you have questions, but we are done with the program.